Okay, well, this is a long-awaited video. I've mentioned, and also like a while ago on Instagram, teased a little image of the logo of the car. I got a new car. I traded out the Fiat. It's been a couple months so far. I just hadn't gotten around to making a video yet. So without further ado, today I'm gonna present to you the C63S AMG S. I don't actually know how they like to pronounce it officially, but this is that. The C63S, it's 503 horsepower, V8, twin turbo. I had a CLS 63 before, which is just kind of like another level up above this, but it was a 2012. This thing, honestly, the transmission is so much better than the old CLS 63 that I would opt for this, despite it being a cheaper car, than I would have my previous CLS 63. On my CLS 63, the transmission on it, when you would use the paddles, what would happen is it would just sometimes not want to go. You'd go downshift and it'd be like, oh no, I don't really think I'm gonna do that right now. You'd hit it again and then it would just do 2 gears at once and you'd hear this horrible noise and I'm like, I'm just not gonna do manual. This, however, it's actually really nice. It shifts gears when you tell it to, which I know sounds like not a difficult thing that a car should do, but it does it very well. It shifts gears quickly, even though it's not a dual clutch transmission. It's a speedy thing. The 503 horsepower, I think it gets to 60 quoted in about 3.9 seconds. It's just a lot more fun than the Fiat. I know a lot of people were a fan of the Fiat. It's very convenient. It's very small. You can fit it into lots of different parking spaces without issue, but this is definitely a little bit more fun. I had a few issues with the Fiat that were just like recurring over and over. Not that, you know, you ever justify necessarily getting a new car simply because of having to take it into the shop a few times, but I was like, you know, I could use a little bit of fun anyway. And you know, we're 2 cars in the garage for a little while because the Ford GT is coming in soon and I'm selling the McLaren in advance. So I figured that this would make a nice addition to things. As you can see, it is very dirty right now. I haven't had it washed in a couple weeks, and it just so happened today was a good opportunity to film this video. I didn't want to pass it up, so you'll have to excuse that it's dirty, but it'll be washed soon. So it has a front-facing camera. First car I've ever had that has a front-facing camera. Boy, is that convenient. I've often thought on other cars, man, I'd rather have a front-facing than a back-facing. Well, why not both? If we come around here, the wheels, these are stock rims, and they're really nice. Satin black, center locking wheel cap, and I'm a fan of them. There are a few wheel options, but they had this one on the lot at the dealership, and I was like, this is basically the exact spec that I would like to have. So it was pretty cool. We got the carbon fiber little exterior options on the mirror there. All the chrome bits, barring a few like the door handles and whatnot, they're all blacked out, which I may end up wrapping the thing at some point, turning the rest of the chrome stuff into black. Got the little carbon fiber spoiler lip here. Exhaust tips and the stuff are blacked out from the factory. I haven't done any work on it. I might do a wrap on it eventually. Matte gray would look pretty nice. I really like matte gray, and I feel like always having one could be kind of cool, but we'll see. Let's see if I get to it. Let's take a look at the interior. All black seats, racing seats at the front, carbon fiber interior trim, which, you know, is a little bit racy. It's very nice. Very nice. Again, this was like the only C63S sedan that they had on the lot at the dealership, and it was like, oh, this is pretty much all the options that I would get if I were to order it to my spec from the factory. So it seemed like a good way to go. This is the first car I've had in ages that has 4 doors on it. So nice and convenient. There's some gym clothes in there. Looks really nice. Legroom's not too bad. A little bit better than the Fiat, which couldn't really fit anyone other than tiny people like me in the back seat. Perhaps the best or worst, most gimmicky feature, depending upon your perspective, could be that when you open the door, it projects the Mercedes logo on the ground. You know what I could do is I could replace whatever is projecting that with like my logo or something, so we could customize it. We could do all sorts of unnecessary, pointless things if I wanted to. But there's that. So that's probably pretty much what I can show from the outside. We'll get in it and I don't know, drive around the block and we'll see what happens. Hopefully don't crash. Push to start, keyless, nice and convenient as you want your daily driver to be, you know. Fiat, I actually had to turn a key. Ooh, you don't want that. It's a lot of work. Every time that I start up the car, it is kind of unfortunate that they can't maintain the settings. It's like an environmental regulation thing that they have to have it in eco mode every time that you start the car. Usually I set it to sport, which is a quick click down with that, and then I also turn on the exhaust button. There are a bunch more settings that you can do on this one, just to customize it to your liking with different suspension, traction control settings, etc. People are going to be sad to hear this, but when I'm just driving around in traffic and whatnot, I just keep it in auto mode. But for the sake of this, we'll switch it into manual and we'll give it a quick drive around the block. You know, one thing that I'm not a massive fan of is that the shifter stock is, it's kind of like a 1960s pickup. It is this thing up here rather than something down here because this is their whole infotainment system. But oh well, it is what it is. Side note, going into that driveway, my car just stalled out earlier. Literally the engine shut off because I think the traction control got so mad because the wheels were coming off. So here we go, a little bit of a zoom. Here, let's do a nice downshift over here. You know what is really, really convenient, speaking of the whole traffic thing, because there's a lot of that in LA? It has autopilot. It's not quite as good as the Teslas, from what I gather, but if I'm in like, I don't know, anywhere between 10 to 20 mile an hour traffic approximately, I don't have to touch the wheel. It's amazing. It is the first car that I've ever had that has that. And let me just tell you how incredible it is to not actually have to touch the wheel of your car as you're driving. I know obviously I'm like a performance car enthusiast, and so that sounds like it defeats the purpose, but when you are in traffic, it's not fun. So in order to mitigate that, just to be able to, you know, sit back, I recline the seat and lay down while the car is driving. It's incredible. I'm safe about it, don't you worry. But it's so cool. It's one of my favorite features of the thing. I didn't even know that it had, I didn't even like look into it, because obviously when I'm buying a car like this, it's not like, oh, what are the autopilot features that it has? I didn't even realize it did the steering thing until I got it. And I was on the freeway, I turned on the adaptive cruise control. I thought it was just gonna do the distance, because that's what my old CLS had. But no, it started turning the wheel. And at first I was really worried about it. I was like, I don't know if I trust this. And I still don't at like high speeds, but when it's at 10 to 20 mile an hour, that's like the sweet spot. Oh my God, it's amazing. After it goes over about 20 miles an hour, then it forces you to touch the steering wheel every few seconds just to provide input, but it's nice as we do a little acceleration here. And that is our little around the block trip right there. I'll probably do some more actual like canyon drives with it or something like that at some point, even though obviously if I'm doing more of a dedicated drive, I'm gonna opt for the Ferrari over this one, but it's still fun to have just in case, you know, you're on a more standard road trip and you come across a fun little stretch. You have the ability to exercise more of a performance thing. So now I can switch it back into auto real quick and it'll start shifting for me, just for the nice slow return back to where we came from. And that'll pretty much be that for the introduction to the C63S AMG, or C63 AMG S. I still don't know how you actually say it properly. Wait, let's just see if I stall out going into the driveway again. Let's have fun with this. Oh boy, I swear to God, I actually, let's see if this happens. Massive angle. Angle. Did it, no. Oh, no, we're good. Just a horrible noise, but we're good. You know what I completely forgot to mention is that just my favorite thing, second to the adaptive cruise control autopilot. I've not had a car personally yet that has the overhead and front and back cameras. It does the 360 surround view. So here, as I scoot forward a little bit, you can see the full-on overhead perspective of where it's like I'm controlling my car in a video game. I can just drive forward very slowly, not looking. This is not my advice to people, but I can just drive around looking at that, and it gives and it's so amazing for pulling in and out of parking spaces. It's just the best thing ever. And then I back up, and then I can do and then if I get close to a car, right, you'll see the cars like start to pop up right over there, like, oh no, there's the cars. They're gonna pop, oh, I don't wanna hit the car. Oh no, I better stop there. And then we can flip around, and then the freaking front camera, never had a car with a front camera. And there's a car there, I better stop. Oh man, this is the coolest thing ever. Oh my God, the convenience features, I love them. All right, so that's that for the C63S. I've got about 1,600 miles on it so far. I purposefully put a lot more on at the beginning so I could go over the break-in period and actually start to put the pedal down. Hopefully you've enjoyed taking a look. I know it's not quite as exciting as the incoming Ford GT, and we'll have a lot more lead up coming to that as it happens, but I have placed the spec down. I've signed the piece of paper with the spec on it, so it's happening. It's really happening after near 3 years of waiting for it. So you'll have that to look forward to once I go to the factory there. You'll get some of the sneak peeks of what the spec is that I chose. But for now, thanks so much for watching, and we'll leave it off here. I'll see you next time.